This next session is a mix of arts and science. We have Arjun Dasannacharya, an AS student of CHS and an aspiring scientist. He's here to answer the questions such as who crafts knowledge? Who whittles it down until all that is left is the truth? Today, Arjun is going to talk about these craftsmen and how we can all work to be scientists. Arjun?
Hello. Hello, everybody. Good morning. How many of you like soap? Or penicillin, an antibiotic that makes you well when you're sick? How many of you like to play ball? How many of you like to heat up your food in the microwave? Now, what do microwaves, penicillin, soap, toothpaste, all of these things have in common? They were all accidents. All of these things were invented by accident. They weren't meant to be invented. Sometimes they weren't even looking for anything to invent, but they found something out anyway. Hi, I'm Arjun. I'm going to talk today about the science behind inventions and how even when you're failing, you're succeeding. Now, I have always considered myself an aspiring scientist. I've always wanted to become a scientist. It's been in my blood for a long time. So, when I was a kid, one of the first science experiments I did, I got out of this little book I'd got as a present, 101 Crazy Science Experiments. I took a little empty bottle of cola, filled it up with vinegar, and added baking soda. Now, all of you have heard of this very old experiment. It bubbles and, it froths, and there's like nice little smell of gas, and it's so cool for a little kid. But I decided that I wanted to see what this gas was. I took a balloon and put it over the mouth of the bottle. The balloon swelled up. The gas, by the way, is carbon dioxide, a common gas that's found everywhere on the earth. So I took the balloon and tied it up. And I took another balloon and filled it up with normal air. And I dropped both of them. So what happens when a balloon drops? It drifts, it slowly hits the ground. But my other balloon, the one filled with carbon dioxide, dropped like a stone. Now, what happened? My 5-year-old mind was stunned. How could two things that were the same color, looked the same, had the same type of stuff in them, to act so differently? So I did a little research, and then I discovered density. Now, it's not like density had never been discovered before, or no one had it wasn't like I'm going to win a Nobel Prize for discovering density, rediscovering density. But the thing is, I discovered it on my own, for myself, for the first time. And that made all the difference. Today, because of that one experiment, I still want to do chemistry. I still want to go and do and learn. And that is what I love about science. When you do, you learn. There is no other way. When a scientist does something, he doesn't just do it so that the experiment goes off well. When he does it, there's 1,001 ways it can go wrong. But the question is, why did it go wrong? And this question, in the way when you try to answer it, you lead to more questions. You find more questions. And then after question after question after question, until you find one answer. And that one answer is the solution to all your problems. Take, for example, the inventor of a microscope. A series of unfortunate events led to him discovering microwaves. He had a bar of chocolate in his pocket, and he was experimenting with microwave emitters. And then he discovered that suddenly the bar of chocolate in his pocket had melted. Now, how did that even happen? And that was a completely new concept and revolutionized what we take for granted today. Another example, Henri Becquerel. He discovered radioactivity when a rock ruined a couple of his photo frames. It seems that all of science is a series of unfortunate events. Or should I say semi-unfortunate, because at the end of it, you always learn something new. So many things have been created by accident. But the truth is, they're not really accidents. It's all in a scientist's mind. Not many of us who sit below an apple tree and get hit on the head discover gravity. How many of you would say that if you sat below a tree and an apple hit you on the head, you would think of gravity? Newton did. We didn't. Now, this is what a scientist does. He keeps his eye open for normal things that we may notice and we may not even care about, and he asks himself the question, why? Now, this question, why, is the answer. It's not just a question, it's an answer. It is the answer to all of humanity's problems. Another one of my failed experiments was when I tried to get iodine out of its tincture at home. Now, to do that, I needed a strong acid. Now, when I tried to get an acid, I obviously couldn't get an acid at home. And so I devised a method. I got myself a bottle of Harpic, the toilet cleaner. Now, that is 10.5% hydrochloric acid. But it's mixed up with soap, which obviously I don't want. Here I am trying to figure out how to get acid out of soap, and then I think, what if I add bleach to it? So here I am, I go add bleach to it, and the first thing I notice is it bubbles, and then it froths, and then I get this disgusting smell. Now what happened? The bubble is chlorine gas. I wasn't able to sit in that room for a week. It smelled that bad. So that experiment was a complete and utter failure. But on the plus side, I learned how to make chlorine gas at home, just in case to like safeguard against any home invaders. But anyway, that is science. Science is like a pile of sand, where each scientist adds a little grain on the top and takes out a little grain when something's proved wrong. Now, this is the core mentality of a science. He questions everything. A scientist never accepts what someone else has written for a fact. If he did, then we would sit here still believing that the sun went around the earth and the world was completely flat, and if you sailed off of it, you would fall off a big waterfall. Now, as we know, that's not the truth. But why? Because scientists question. They refuse to believe and they refuse to accept anything for complete fact. Now, how many of you think you could be scientists? Some of you surely think so. Some of you maybe are scientists. But the thing is, we're all scientists. PhD or not, degree or not, we don't need any sort of paper that says scientist so we can put on a badge, wear a lab coat, and go and shake chemicals which go boom in the end. No, that's not science. That is a part of science. Science is every day. Science is something we encounter in all of our lives. And every time we try to solve a problem, we're doing science. We're working it. We're analyzing a problem, finding its causes, and then solving it. And that is the core mentality of a scientist. So, I'm going to leave you today with a few things. Science isn't a degree. Science isn't a long list of accolades and letters you put behind your name to make you sound important. Science is an art. Science is the art of learning. So, I'll leave you all with this thought. You can all be scientists. All you have to do is keep your eye open keep your mind open, and never give up. Thank you.